Some discoveries arrive quietly, but Atlas didn't. The moment this interstellar object crossed into our solar system, the laws of physics started bending around it. It accelerated when no force should exist. It glowed blue when it should be dark. And worst of all, it changed direction, like something was guiding it. Scientists expected a dying comet. What they found instead was a silent machine drifting through space, watching. As Atlas approaches Earth on December 19th, one question rises above the rest. What happens when the observer becomes the observed? On November 5th, the Virtual Telescope project revealed 2 new images of the interstellar object 3I Atlas, and what they showed left the scientific community more confused than ever. Instead of behaving like a normal comet, Atlas appeared as a compact, clean point of light, showing no tail, no dust, and no trace of outgassing. Even more surprising, its appearance had barely changed since Hubble observed it in July 2025. For an object that should have shed over 5 billion tons of material near the Sun, this lack of visible activity is simply inexplicable. To understand the mystery, scientists compared Atlas to a standard comet like Lemon. Lemon behaves exactly as physics predicts. Its ice melts as it approaches the Sun, producing a bright tail pushed away by solar radiation. Atlas, however, remains unnaturally clean, despite showing signs of a powerful continuous acceleration, an acceleration that should only exist if enormous amounts of gas were being expelled, but no such gas cloud exists. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb has stated that this alone makes Atlas unlike anything we've ever seen. The strange behavior became undeniable on October 29th when Atlas reached its closest point to the Sun. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory discovered that the object had deviated from its predicted path by 4 arcseconds, a tiny angle on paper, but massive when measured across 203 million kilometers. Atlas was accelerating at a rate of 0.2 millimeters per second squared, enough to push it more than 80 kilometers off course in a single month. Even stranger, the acceleration occurred in 2 independent directions. Outward from the Sun, at about 60 kilometers per month, sideways, at nearly 27 kilometers per month. This means Atlas is no longer obeying pure gravity. Something else, something we cannot yet identify, is acting on it. The standard explanation for non-gravitational acceleration is outgassing, where sunlight vaporizes ice, and the escaping gas acts like a natural thruster, but Loeb's calculations show that for Atlas's observed acceleration to be caused by outgassing, the object would need to lose 1/6 of its total mass, over 5 billion tons, in just 1 month. This expelled gas would form an immense, brilliant cloud, easily visible even through small telescopes. Yet the new images show none. As December approaches, dozens of telescopes, including Hubble, the James Webb Space Telescope, and ground-based observatories, are preparing for Atlas's closest approach to Earth, only 167 million miles away. If a gas cloud truly exists, we will see it. But if we don't, the natural explanation collapses completely, forcing scientists to consider alternatives once unthinkable. And Atlas gives them plenty to question. First, its brightening pattern is unprecedented. As it neared the Sun, Atlas brightened with a power law of -7, whereas normal comets brighten at -2 or -3. This means Atlas grew brighter more than twice as fast as expected. Second, its color is baffling. Atlas became deep blue, bluer than the Sun itself, despite being icy cold. Natural dust tends to redden light. It never causes this level of blue emission. Some astronomers speculate ionized gases might explain it, but the spectrum still doesn't match known signatures. Third, Atlas travels on an impossibly precise interstellar trajectory. Instead of entering the solar system from a random angle, as every interstellar object should, Atlas approached almost perfectly aligned to the ecliptic plane, the same narrow plane in which the planets orbit the Sun. The odds of this happening naturally are practically zero. Then came an even stranger discovery. In July and August 2025, Atlas produced a jet of material pointing directly toward the Sun. This is the opposite of all known comet behavior, where jets and tails always point away from the Sun. The only way to reverse this is through a directed force, something that behaves more like propulsion than evaporation. Spectroscopic analysis revealed something even harder to explain: a nickel-to-iron ratio similar to engineered high-temperature alloys. Atlas is also extremely dry, with only 4% water, far below the 80 to 90% typical of comets. Its surface reflects light with a polarization pattern resembling smooth metallic or composite materials, inconsistent with natural rock or ice. Some physicists propose that Atlas may be surrounded by a protective shell, possibly ceramic or composite, preventing any evaporation at all. If true, Atlas would be the first known celestial object with an artificial outer layer. Atlas's behavior becomes even more intriguing when looking at its path through the sky. Its arrival direction aligns closely with the region from which the famous 1977 WOW signal originated. While this might be coincidence, the odds are incredibly small, and a few SETI researchers have suggested a potential connection, or at least that both phenomena came from the same region of space. As Atlas continues its journey, its anomalies pile up: a jet pointing toward the Sun, a trajectory aligned with planetary orbits, metallic spectral signatures, a blue glow indicating temperatures higher than the Sun's surface, an acceleration with no visible cause, a dryness uncharacteristic of all known comets, a polarization pattern matching smooth, structured surfaces. Nothing about Atlas fits known physics. This leads some to propose bold theories. One suggests that Atlas could be an ancient interstellar probe, launched millions of years ago by a long-lost civilization. Another proposes that it is part of a cosmic monitoring system, triggered whenever a civilization reaches technological milestones, such as nuclear capability. An even more speculative theory claims Atlas might be a relay station, transmitting signals on century-long cycles. Of course, these ideas remain unproven, but scientists agree on one thing: if the gas cloud does not appear, the natural comet model fails. The coming weeks are crucial. On December 19th, when Atlas reaches its closest point to Earth, hundreds of telescopes will focus on it. They will be looking for one thing: evidence of the 5 billion tons of gas that must exist if outgassing caused its acceleration. If the sky remains clear, Atlas may force the scientific community to confront the possibility that it is not a natural object. And if that happens, December 19th could become a turning point in human history, the moment we confirm the first technological visitor from beyond our solar system. For now, Atlas remains silent, accelerating through the darkness with no visible engine, no tail, and no explanation. And as it approaches, one question grows louder. It began with a signal no one was meant to notice, an echo hidden in the raw data of the James Webb telescope, a rhythm too perfect to be cosmic noise, too intentional to be coincidence. Something out there wasn't just passing by, it was watching. As astronomers tried to explain the impossible, the data only grew darker, stranger, and more precise. This wasn't a comet, it wasn't a rock, it was something built, and the moment we turned our telescopes toward it, it responded. It began as a whisper, an image buried deep inside the raw, unprocessed data of the James Webb Space Telescope. At first, it looked like a glitch, a meaningless rhythm hidden in a spectrographic reading. But the pattern was too precise, too consistent, too deliberate. It wasn't a cosmic dust flare, nor the thermal signature of a dying star, and it definitely wasn't a comet. This was something else. Something cold, calculated, and watching. The object, officially labeled 3I Atlas, had already gained notoriety for breaking the rules of physics. From the moment it was first detected, scientists expected another interstellar visitor, like Oumuamua or Borisov, strange, fast, and fleeting. But Atlas behaved differently. It followed no known script. It refused to be classified. And soon, it began to reveal characteristics that defied everything astronomers thought they understood about natural objects. When Atlas first entered the solar system, researchers thought it might be a dry comet, rare but possible. Yet, as it approached the sun, something eerie became obvious. It expelled only carbon dioxide, and in massive quantities. No water vapor, no carbon monoxide. Nothing that a comet should release. Instead, its chemical signature was unlike anything ever recorded. NASA pointed the infrared spectrometer aboard the SphereX observatory toward it, searching for the usual gases. But again, the readings came back impossible. CO2 and nothing else. What kind of object emits only carbon dioxide? The answer, none that we know of. Public interest exploded, but NASA stayed quiet. And in the silence, something unusual was happening behind closed doors. The James Webb Space Telescope, reserved for exoplanets, galaxies, cosmic birthplaces, was secretly assigned to observe Atlas. No images were released, no statements, just a leak. A report describing what Webb had supposedly seen. The object had no natural coma, but instead a perfectly symmetrical halo of CO2 stretching hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Even stranger, the halo glowed, not from reflected sunlight, but from a light source inside the object. According to the leaked spectrogram, the emissions resembled engineered photonic systems, the kind used in communication arrays or data transmitters. The wavelengths weren't random. They pulsed in repeating sequences, structured like a cosmic Morse code. Atlas also wasn't small. It measured 46 kilometers in diameter, far too large to statistically appear as a random interstellar object. For something of that size to enter our solar system from deep space would mean one of two things. Either we misunderstand the universe at a fundamental level, or the object did not arrive by chance. But the most disturbing discovery wasn't its composition or size. It was its trajectory. Unlike Oumuamua's chaotic slingshot path, Atlas entered the solar system in perfect alignment with the orbital plane of the planets, a path with a 1 in 500 natural probability. Avi Loeb, the controversial astrophysicist who claimed Oumuamua could be artificial, described Atlas's trajectory as technologically suggestive. It wasn't just passing through, it was navigating. And then came the origin. Atlas appeared to trace back to the Sagittarius constellation, the same patch of sky where the legendary WOW signal, the strongest potential extraterrestrial transmission ever recorded, originated in 1977. The odds were unsettling. A new theory emerged, not from science fiction, but from engineering logic. Atlas might be a hollowed asteroid retrofitted with machinery, using CO2 sublimation as camouflage to appear. Natural scientists on Earth had proposed the concept for decades. Asteroid starships protected by thick rock to withstand cosmic radiation. If humanity had thought of it, why couldn't someone else? The leaked Webb data deepened the mystery. The light emissions coming from Atlas weren't stable. They flickered in sequences matching prime numbers, a method SETI scientists have long suggested would be a universal language for intelligent communication. Even more chilling, between each pulse was a long, deliberate silence, almost as if the object were waiting for something or someone. When the leak became public, NASA locked down all data. Observatories were instructed to stop publishing updates. The media moved on, but inside classified channels, something stirred. Within 48 hours, the U.S. military redirected satellites toward Atlas's projected path, and the secretive X-37B spaceplane was launched into orbit on an unannounced mission. Internal documents labeled Atlas as a technological unknown of extraterrestrial origin. Outside the official narrative, another theory took shape. A group of fringe astrobiologists suggested Atlas might not just be a machine, but a living system, a hybrid organism combining biological and mechanical components, capable of self-repair, adaptation, and decision-making across millennia. If true, Atlas didn't just arrive here, it chose here. Then the timing anomalies began. The pulses, the trajectory shifts, the orbital alignments, all formed a pattern. Independent astronomers predicted that in 9 months, Atlas would reach a position that required either an enormous gravitational assist or an internal propulsion maneuver. The structure of the emissions suggested phases. Some believed we were entering phase 3 of a 5-phase cycle, ending when Atlas aligned between Mars and Earth. As if in response, the Deep Space Network began experiencing disruptions. Probes like New Horizons and Voyager 2 went silent in sync with Webb observations. Radio astronomers detected electromagnetic disturbances centered around Atlas's tracking windows. It was almost as if the object knew it was being observed and was interfering. Tracking data then revealed something no natural object should do: course corrections. Precise angular deviations toward specific stars, including the Lytton system, home to a potentially habitable exoplanet. This suggested intention, planning, and perhaps a route traveled before. The final leak was the most disturbing. When Webb captured its last infrared spectrogram of Atlas, a scientist plotted the bursts in polar coordinates and overlaid star maps from the Gaia spacecraft. The emissions traced a star map, not of the Milky Way, but of the Triangulum Galaxy, 2.7 million light-years away. The last line of the map curved back toward Earth, forming a perfect loop. This wasn't a traveler, it was a return. Inside NASA, a countdown embedded in the IR pulses was decoded, 283 Earth days remaining. But the message didn't come from us. It came from Atlas. If this object has crossed galaxies and epochs to reach our solar system, then one truth becomes impossible to ignore. James Webb didn't discover it. It discovered us. And now, as the countdown continues, one question hangs above all others. What happens when it reaches 0? So now the real question isn't what 3i Atlas is, but what it's coming here to do. Every signal, every maneuver, every shift in its behavior points to one truth. It isn't drifting, it's choosing. And whatever waits at the end of this countdown is already on its way. If this object crossed galaxies to reach us, then James Webb didn't discover it. It discovered us. If you want to keep following this mystery, make sure to like this video and subscribe to CosmicFiles.